Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm back today with another review, and it looks like this is the end of everything. That's right, I'm talking about the demo from Serotonal. Now, this demo was released in 2004 and was the first real release from Serotonal. They've been around solid as a band from that point on and actually released their first full-length album last year, which was called Monumental. Did a review of that separately, which you can always check out if you're interested. But anyway, let's talk about the end of everything here. Now, if you're not familiar with Serotonal sound, what you really get in terms of the writing process and their sort of overarching style is a lot of emotion and a lot of, song structure build-up, which is definitely the case on this particular demo. But what is sort of different here is that they take a more acoustic approach to that sort of idea here. If you heard the distorted guitar and the more classic doom metal vibe from the, like I mentioned, the newer full-length album, this might be a little bit of a shock to you as a listener, because this is really more of a cleaner and more acoustic emotional outlet for the band, and is very experimental, even relative to their newer work. What you get on this particular release is a list of 4 tracks: Soon Tomorrow, Memory Leaves, and The Visions Show Us, and of course the title track, The End of Everything. Now, the first 2 tracks are semi-familiar and similar to one another. What you really get is sort of a clean, kind of synth-oriented or piano-oriented introduction, a lot of build-up, and then, guitar work coming in towards the later half of the tracks in particular. And that's one of the sort of interesting things about this release is that, first of all, it doesn't really feel like a metal release, and that's not intended as an underhanded insult. It's really more of a sort of acoustic and experimental rock outlet, which I quite enjoyed, and I found it contrasted the later Serotonal work quite well. Now, in particular, I find that the guitars are not the most prominent instrument on this release. Actually, the drumming and the key/synth work is actually at the forefront of the music, and the guitar comes in for sort of experimental building and for musical enhancement and that sort of thing. But this is really a sort of a dreamy and sort of synth-oriented release here, which is quite interesting. And of course, you got the vocals from Darren White, and on the first 2 tracks especially, you'll hear that kind of throwback to maybe the later Blood Divine work with the more clean vocal style. Sure, there are the odd growly bit here and there, but it's really not the highlight of the musical and sort of vocal style in here. So getting on to the 3rd track here in particular, and The Visions Show Us, this song is really, for me, a throwback to the Visions tracks from the Blood Divine. Their first and second album, respectively, had Visions Part 1 and 2. And for me, this track is almost like Visions Part 3. Although this is a separate band, it has that same industrial vibe to it, and it's, a similar style of interlude, and it does build well into the last track here, called The End of Everything. Now, like I mentioned, there is that similarity to the previous sort of Darren White music and work on this release, and The Visions Show Us is not the only example of that. I didn't mention this earlier, but Memory Leaves actually has lyrics referencing Angel's Wings. And that's actually a musical concept that sort of showed up through many releases in Darren White's past catalog, such as on the track Mine Is Yours to Drown In from Anathema, and the song Angel's Wings from Dead Men Dream. So it's interesting to hear that little tie back to the older Darren White material. And actually, The End of Everything is sort of an emotional outlet and a more sort of straightforward emotional release for the band. And the end of the song actually kind of brought me back to listen to the track Prayer from the Blood Divine. It has that sort of interesting outro with spoken, sort of electronic, almost spoken vocals in there, which is quite interesting. But The End of Everything is a good sort of almost ballad on here, but it's a very emotionally driven and fulfilling ballad for the listener. So I really enjoyed that, and it does sort of offset the first half of this release in particular. So all in all, I found that this particular demo was very dynamic sounding. It defied a lot of my pre-existing ideas or my expectations for it, which is something I enjoy, especially when it turns out this well in particular. And although there's the odd rough patch or experimental bit that doesn't quite work out here or there, This is quite a successful demo in my opinion, something I'm very proud to own, and my support goes out to the guys at Serotonal. Now, one thing I'd like to mention in particular is that Serotonal is actually working on their second full-length album now, which is currently titled The Renunciant, I believe. So I'm really looking forward to that as a fan, and I'm hoping that it gets well supported. So if you're interested in the older Serotonal catalog, you want to hear where they came from, or you want to hear them take a more experimental and more sort of atmospheric approach to their music, check out Serotonal, The End of Everything, particular release that I'm very proud to own, and that's really all I have to say today. Check out Serotonal. Love the band, and looking forward to hearing more of their material in the future. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.